In our FlexPay, we manage all the bugs. So sometimes people call that issue, but it's stuff happening. You deploy a code and there's a bugs that you need to take care. So what about me? So I'm the CTO at FlexPay. I'm the CTO role since 12 years now. So I'm doing that for FlexPay. That's my second startup I'm working at full time. I'm doing consulting for other people with the process and the management or the manager stuff. So my main responsibilities most of the time is to try to define a product that will generate values, make sure it's scalable, it's working, try to explain that to the C-suite. So what does it mean? Coach the team to make them improve on what they do, and building some practices on the way that people is going to work. I can still doing codes and all of that, but my main focus is mostly more to try to explain to people to get better, to work as a team and put process in place that fits people's needs. So what's the problems? So you will see that once problems happen, someone reports and there's not really documentation on it, no information how to reproduce the bugs. People that may be able to understand what there are not available. So yes, let's say I'm the CTO. Most of the bug, I know what it is, but if the programmers try to do something, you don't know what to do. So if you are in a sprint, try to give a bug to someone to do and fix it. The first time he's reading the bug and saying, I'm blocked, I don't know what to do with that. And when you ask to people to try to put information to describe stuff, I will say developers are lazy. They don't want to create documentation. So the documentation, the quality just is always not really good enough to try to understand what's there. So what is a bug for us? It's something that is not working as defined. So we're using, say, user story definition. So when the bug is not respecting the user stories, it's a bug. It can be something else, but it's something someone outside the team can report. So we have the user, someone using the application reports something through the support system. It can be someone during the operation tried to do something with the application and doesn't work as it's expected. It can be a developer that is doing stuff and figure out that another piece of the platform is not working. But most of the time, it's the production's, let's say, monitoring that has to report something. So we put a logging system everywhere, but something's happening with the log and someone going to report to the dev team the issue or the problems. So what's the phase where we, as a person, as we're trying to follow when we're acting as a bug? So we are using 4 phases. And my next slide is going to be to try to explain more in detail what it is. But let's think about when you go to the hospital. When you came in, there's a triage for you there, just to see, what's happened. And you're going to follow the rest of the process until you're being fixed as being the medicines, and you're going to feel better at the end because the problem is fixed. So what is the triage for us? So when there's a bug that is reported, you don't know where it's coming from. So you don't know what it's mean. Maybe it's a new feature, maybe it's a real bug, maybe it's critical. So we need to process fast to figure out if this is a real problem that I have to stop someone and try to fix it. So try to identify fast if this is something critical that I need to put someone on it. Because if this is a normal bug that can wait, we just log it and put it there and not doing much more on it. So garbage in, garbage out. But if you think it's more critical, now you need to escalate to make sure there's someone's going to take care of it. So next phase, so someone has to go deep and try to figure out what it is. Try to reproduce the issue, what it's the cost, to make it more clear to be able to fix it. But if the person is doing that, not sure if the solution is working. Let's say we're in the fintech technology, someone can say, I know what it is, I'm going to fix it, but in fact, this is not the solution and can generate problems. The person can define something that maybe can take, say, multiple days or a week to fix, but in fact, it's 5 minutes fix if you know exactly what it is. So the investigation, you need to figure out what it really is to understand what it is for you and maybe for others to explain them what's the problems. And the review, it's the last stage we're using. After you do the investigation and you try to define what it is, someone will have to go back and say, hey, is that the real solution? So you need someone after the fact that will look at what's there and say, yes, you're going to implement that, it's going to work. Most of the time, those phases seem easy when the problem is very simple. But when you raise the bar of the complexity and you don't pass through all those phases, that's where you're going to have solution that doesn't work. The fix is not there, and no one knows what to do with that. So that's the logical process we're thinking as a human to just process an issue that is reported. So how do we do that using the at FlexPay? So we're using Azure DevOps to track all of it. Yes, the source can be different. So who's going to report that? It can be maybe through the support system. Maybe it's a monitoring that's report that. But at some point, a bug is going to be created and add in the backlog for the dev team to take care of it. Until it's not on the backlog, the dev team not have to take any of this. It's just waiting somewhere until the dev team is asked to do something on it. So at the template, so to manage that process, we have to manage to change the default agile template that is there. Why? There's not enough field to describe those, say, logical steps that we need to put to add what it is. Because when someone reports the bugs, the titles, yeah, maybe it's good, maybe it's not good. The repro step, maybe it's not good. But the repro step, it's how the people understand what it is. So we ask the team to fill more fields. So we add a symptom that describes what's the impact and have a field to propose the fix. But because it's coming and you're going to have to release it, you may have to explain what it is to outside people. I need description for the dev team, but I need description. So for the DevOps, when we're going to release it, maybe you have something to fix after you deploy. So we have more field attached as the definition of the structure of a bug. We also add state to manage all the logical state that I defined before. So we have triage. So it means when we put the state, it means we reach that. So we have a definition of that that say, when it's triage, what does it mean? In design, ready to fix. So those items are going to describe later what it is, but we're adding fields to make sure we can keep track of the progress of the bug during the logical aspect of the resolution of that. The priority fields. So in the Azure DevOps, you have those two. We have two fields. The one that we're using is the priority. Most of the user that we have don't really know how to put the priority. What does it mean? Because the prioritization is not really clear for them. It's too vague. So for us, we precise where something that is really precise that define what it is. So one, it's not critical. You don't have to stop it. But on the next sprint, the Scrum Master knows that he has to add that bug in the next sprint and the upcoming sprint. Cannot wait, but it's not urgent, but put it as right after. The priority two, it's something more core to the platform. So for us, we're an API when we're processing backend stuff. So everything that is core backend stuff that is producing stuff, it's priority two. For us, the three, it's user interface. If the user interface not really work, we always can go in the database, fix the data for the user, and continue. So yes, it's important, but much less than the person is using the API. And the other one that we're using, the priority for, it's for the code dev. We don't hide anything. So everything that someone has in mind, a thing that need to be solved and need to be improved because it's not good enough, or no matter what it is, we use the priority for to log everything. So if we ask what is our code depth, we know it's priority 4. Severity, as I mentioned a couple of times already, we have the critical one. Critical one, it's maybe the operation are blocked, so someone or all the team will stop right now what they do, and they're gonna address that bug if this is critical. Height and medium, high, it's made for us, it's a bug. It's not an improvement. It's really something not working as defined. But sometimes it's more an improvement, so we're using medium to define when it's an improvement, it's not really a bug. And low, people don't really use it because it doesn't mean anything for us really that we can do. It just, oh, it's not medium, it's slow. Yeah, but it's not a code depth. So use the code depth and not the severity to classify stuff. So when we do the triage to prioritize the bug, so we're using the severity first and the priority first and severity second to create the list, the order list of bugs. So if we want to start a sprint, we use that priority list to grab stuff that we have defined. We have someone that is more, say, UI guy. So he's starting in the priority 3, that it's UI to do the bug stuff, and maybe he can go in the code depth if he can you can fix it. So bug transaction and bug activities. So when a new bug is reported, so currently there's different places where the bug can be reported through the monitoring. So we're using a system of LSI to report a bug, but the bug first, it's added in the sprint, not added in the sprint, added in the backlog. So our QA manager will try to assign as soon as possible someone just to go and revise the bug. Why? We try to catch as fast as possible the critical one. But at that time, the person does do everything. No, just say, okay, I understand mostly what it is. It's not critical. The bug, it's, yeah, maybe in that location, it's a real bug and it's on the UI. So it's good enough just to put it there to have a first thought on it. But the end result is it's not critical, so the bug can wait. What we do to when the bugs wait, there's two concepts there. We're using a bug cap, so that define the maximum of bug we want to keep in the backlog to keep in healthy state. But to get there, we need to be able to know the list of bug and knows what to do with that and the impact of them. So we do some sort of what we call a bug grooming. So that's a concept most of the people are understand and do it. But the bug grooming, it's not only just say, oh, okay, bug grooming and work on it. You need more people to be able to understand the grooming, to be able to move and execute the investigation. So if you could say, you grab a bug and you assign to someone, that person will look at the bug and say, I don't really know what to do with that. But you need to pass through the investigation phase to understand what it is and make sure it's working for everyone. The review, so most of the time we're using the architect, solution architect to review what's there, to make sure what has been proposed is working for everyone. So if this is the investigation is done by an architect, we're going to use someone else to do the review. Why? Two heads is better than just one. And if we want to have a 360 degrees of view on the issue, more people helps having a better solution on that. So maybe more detail on the bug grooming. So what we do, say we are running 2-week sprint, but every week before the release day, we're allocating 4 hours, maximum of 4 hours to people to start working on bugs. So it's mean everyone will stop what they currently do, the new feature, and they will try to describe what's the bugs and make sure the bug is going to be ready to be fixed. But to start, we try different ways. But if the people are not all of them together at the beginning, the people will try to do the investigation without have enough information, but they think they're smart, so they don't ask to anyone. So the first hour or until we assign to someone the bugs, we pass, everyone is there, I'm there, the product manager is there, solution architect is there, and we read all the bugs, and someone that knows what it is, try to explain to someone what it is. The person who understands the most the bug gonna be assigned to it. So we're gonna say this bug is in triage, assigned to that person, and that person will, after alone, will go and try to put all the meat, all the description, all the stuff is aware to get more information about it. So the end result, so make sure the title is clear. So I don't want a title of the user, what it put, what it see. I want a title that explains what it is for the development teams. Do you understand what's the impact? They reproduce that. Are they clear enough to be understood by the QA team? Because if you don't review them, doesn't really work. The proposed fix, does it work though? So put enough information to allow someone to review. Some people say, oh, I would just fix it. That's the reproduce step are okay, but what are you gonna do with that? If there's not enough information for someone to review, I don't know what you have doing. The other stuff, the area path, story point, priority, severity. So just revise what it has been explained so you can understand what it is, what this is, and so that allows us after to do a review by someone and put the bug in ready state. So we try different ways to keep the capacity, the rules that we have. So don't start working on the new bug after 4 hours. But if you are already trying to do the investigation on it, stay on it until you finish. Yes, when you start, the first time you start, the process seems to be a little bit too heavy because all the bugs are so easy. So you clean them up and it's very easy. But when the complexity of the try to reproduce, try to understand is getting higher, Now that's where the problem it started, and now that's where you need these kind of process to make it work on that complexity. If this is a UI bug, you click and not working, it's easy. But if you have a batch processing that sometimes is not able to recreate the schedule and you don't really know why, maybe the investigation is longer, the person has to stay on it because you don't really know the fix. So after the bug grooming, so we have a lot of bugs that are ready to fix. So it's mean for the Scrum Master, you have time, you want to assign a bug to someone, you grab a bug, and anyone on the team can do the implementation of it. So it's not going to be blocked, say, I don't know what to do with that because it's not clear, I don't know the approach, I don't know how to reproduce this, and I know the steps. Having a clear bug, it's more flexible after that for the planning. You always have a programmer that going faster on a sprint that you want to give him at the last minute a little bit more work. What you use bug when they are ready to fix. Call to actions. So what you should do after that, what I recommend, allocate a block of time in your sprint where everyone is available to work on the bug definition. So why? People don't like to work on bug. They don't like to try to define what it is. And so if you stop everyone, so everyone's going to participate to do that, even if they don't like it. And because the other resources are available, you're going to resolve everything faster. Most of the time, a developer will need the product owner or the solution architect to try to explain maybe something more in detail, to try to figure out what it is. You need your DevOps guys to go maybe in production to grab maybe more details somewhere that you are not able to access. And if that person is not available, it's not working. The process template, you need to modify the process template. Some fields to try to put information and keep the state. So the way we keep state, we are using the state and the person who's been assigned. So when we have a bug in mod triage, it means someone has to take it. So if I decide to work on it, I'm gonna assign myself on it. When I'm finished, I'm gonna transfer the bug at InDesign on the next phases without nobody assigned to it. When the solution architect gonna work on it, he's assigning to him the bug in the design state. And when the work is complete, is moving to the ready to fix state and removing himself from the assigned to. So we're using both the assign and the states and the fields to manage the entire process in Azure DevOps. And the logging. So you should always try to continue to improve the logging and put more informations and try to attach an event ID for each problem. Because if something is happening in the monitoring and you have an event ID there that is documented, it's easier to understand what it is. If you log nothing and it's just a generic error and just you log the message, it's generic errors, no data, no context, it's going to be more difficult. So make sure you improve on your logging every time you look at the bug. Can I do something to improve the logging? So if I look the event ID, I go and read the description, I know exactly what it is, what should not happen. And now it's more easy to do the triage, more easy to do the investigation, and faster to have a better result on it. So that's it for the process. If you have questions, comments, it's now the time.
Yeah, so I had a question, if that's all right. I start off.
Yep.
Yeah, first off, thanks. There's, I think, a ton of great detail on that, and I appreciate you going through it. I was curious, because you kind of touched on the bug grooming process, and I really like the idea that you stop everyone to participate because, people don't like to necessarily jump into this. But I'm curious, when you go into that grooming process, is severity already set by the QA department, and are you looking at that from a severity standpoint, or are you literally going through everything that's in the backlog of bugs? So and having it in the room.
So in the backlist, we always try to keep the bugs ordered by priority and severity. So there's the state, the ready to state are on the top, but the new ones are on the bottom, go with triage design. So when we start, we try to fix as much as possible. So we start from the design and we're going down. But if you're going down, you always start from the highest priority and the highest severity, because it's how we sort them in the queries. So yes, by default, because you have the triage before the groomings, the triage will help you to try to prioritize them after. That's how we use it with the guy. So we build a queries that sort by priorities and severity. So now we know how to track them.
And the other question was really around when you onboard somebody new to this, like, are you taking them through this exact kind of training to get them ramped up in terms of because it seems like there's a lot of detail in the steps that they need to take, but just kind of the overall process.
For a new person, what is good for that, it's for that person to learn. let's say you have all the bugs on every pieces of the application. The person is there for 1 hour. Everyone are there, try to explain what it is, what they have to understand to make sure it's clear. So it's some sort of global training for new people. Yes, when there's the grooming, they don't say really nothing, but they say they enjoy it. Say, I wasn't aware that we have that application there and we're doing this. So it's more a 360 degrees of the application because bugs can be from everywhere. That's why we restrict that to, let's say, 1 hour everyone. So for the time frame, so 1 hour to try to explain what it is, all the bugs. If we don't have time to finish, anyway, they will not have time to finish for this week. So we're gonna postpone to the next week. And why did we are putting that, say that we're reserving all for us, it's every Tuesday morning. It's because we're releasing every Wednesday morning. And the Tuesday morning, it's when it's the regression times on the bugs and try to put that on the production. So nobody really working on anything because we just release it's complete. So people are free to work and support. If we find something during the regression and something, people after the grooming, they are available to go and try to fix it or answer the question. So that's why for us, it's a time frame that it's reserved. The QA person is working on the release, so they don't really have to build anything. And everyone is there. So for new people to train, to try to explain them what it is. Okay, that bug is coming from there and what's happening. And sometime maybe you can open the screen, go in production, do some queries on the logging there. So they see more stuff in action in detail. So it's very useful to train new people.
I'll kind of piggyback off of that.
Oop. Go ahead, David.
I'll piggyback off of that with, I think, kind of diving deeper into that, pre-allocated time that you've got. Have you seen any kind of pushback from the organization or from your teams around just having that dedicated chunk of time? A thing I see across our team, especially as we've adopted Scrum and some similar processes, is like there's certain folks that just feel like, oh my gosh, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours every single week. Like I could be doing so much more on my own if I didn't have to, chunk this off. So do you see that, and how do you address that with the team?
So to address that one, when we're starting with the bug cap. So how many people we are, how many bugs we can accept to have in the backlog total. So that concept became a culture of, okay, when there's too much, everyone stop building new feature, everyone are fixing bugs. So it's a culture to be everyone doing the shit together. So if I just grab 1% of the team and you're gonna do the triage and the addition of everything, it's gonna be difficult for that person. They're gonna be boring, not motivated. But because they are doing that as a team, the commitment to is everyone's gonna work on it. I'm gonna crush everything. So we're gonna try to have everything ready to fix. So the first time we do the grooming, that there's a lot of bugs there. The bugs are difficult to fix, but because it's everyone, it was working. Before we would say, okay, you have time, you finish your work for the sprint, so you have time, so you're gonna try to do the triage and try to define and fix the bugs. But at the end say, it's always me because I'm faster than others, did my work. I have to do that shit that I don't like to. So splitting that, say, work that is not fun to everyone, where is more accepted than then try to assign those people that have nothing or already have finished what they have to do.
Awesome. Definitely like that. We live and die as a team mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I said I really appreciate splitting up the bug grooming versus the actual work instead of just assigning a bug report to a developer and having them run around and figure out what it entails. Do you have like a template or a process for kind of documenting what the bugs really are about?
That's when I say when I do the customization of the bugs. When you're receiving something, we receive the title and the repro step. The repro step of the description of what people have that. But for us, it's just the beginning. That's what you report and what you use to connect with the outside people. We add the symptom and the proposed fix. So the symptom, try to explain to your team member what the impact of it, to be able to understand if there's something that needs to be affected, need to be changed, or maybe in the deployment need to be fixed. So what's the the effect of that bug in terms of more developers. And we use the other field that is called propose to fix. So this is a description what you think you're gonna do. So explain. So if you put nothing else and you say, I'm the QA guys, and I say, okay, that's what it's really affecting and that's what you do. Just because you explain me what you're gonna do, I may figure out how to validate your stuff or do the test automation on it. So for different type of people, so we're having 3 fields that are, so I will say different. And for different type of people, maybe for you, it's easy to define the proposed fix. But maybe for someone else, the repro step, the description, it's easier. Or maybe because you are impacted of this, it's easier for you to explain the cost. But if one of those 3 is good enough, it's going to be good enough for the rest of the people who's working on it. But depends on your personality. Having those 3 fields help us to, at the end, when someone outside the team try to do the release note on it, yeah, there's enough. For the QA teams, yeah, there's enough. But if all of those fields are empty, there's someone along the roads going to be lost and will miss information.
Thanks for the talk, Steve. It feels like it's really nice to see written out in concepts that other people could take up about this process that helps build great software, right? I often find myself in a situation where someone on my team takes a bug and does what I think is totally the wrong thing with it. And I have to decide how I want to handle that. And I feel myself doing education around software and like, well, I have to articulate what's going on and to see this written out in this way. And you obviously have this new process in your team. You're training your team through this process. And that's one thing I think is exemplary about it. And it's really cool to see. A question I had was, how big is your team that you're running this around?
So there are 10 people running it. So when they are all together, say, okay, this one, I already know what it is. I'm going to take it. So triage assigned to that person. So when the bug is easy, it's going fast. When it's slower, having more people involved, you're going the right directions and you got as much information you can know. And most of the time people say in that class, near that lines, you should look at this. This is where it is. And the people that they report say, yeah, I know in that screen you do this and that's what's happening. Oh, you didn't write all of that, but because you explained to me, now I know. So I can put the rest of the information there because at that time I have more time. Because most of the time, let's say you're working on something and you figure out something, you take 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes to write it down, but it's not complete. So if the people are there to explain after what's really happening with more detail, so not writing stuff, more agile and talking more, as in more communications, it's easier to share the knowledge at different levels, share the make sure it's working. So I know probably you say that how many times I saw a programmer work 3 days on some stuff, but if I was aware, I should guide that person, takes 5 minutes and it's done. So we try to avoid all those cases. And sometimes you have a code, you do code review, say, I have to roll back everything, 3 days lost because it's the wrong directions. Don't really know. And didn't just review his approach.
Yeah, that's great. That's I see the power of that grooming and having the shared context to surface all those things. Another thing that struck me was this idea that there's a cap of the bugs in the backlog, and at a certain point, it's like, hey, we're not doing anything else other than fixing these, right? That's cool to see that an example of a team that has made that part of their process and therefore part of their culture. And so that's really neat. I was recently introduced to the idea of work in progress limits. This is a Kanban thing, as I understand, right? As a way of trying to force reviews and focus the team down. And there are also potential downsides when you adopt that mechanic, but I think it's really neat to see this example as a bug cap as well. It hadn't occurred to me, and it's cool to have a data point of that. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, so maybe I can add under to make the bug cap working. So every twice a month, we're having, say, management meeting, and I report how many bugs I have on the list. So we start in January at 58, and our bar is 60. So we're running since January, and now there's the November, say 10 is the first sprint that we have to stop feature, and we have to attack all the bugs. Why? We have a little bit code debt, some JavaScript error that we have on the client side, but we know is I reporting every month the number of bugs that we have. They are aware of the bug cap. Until we don't reach and say passed over the line, we continue to build feature. But they know if I go up 60, I'm gonna have to take maybe 1 or 2 sprints to try to reduce under the bug cap everything that is there. Do I fix everything? No, but I have to raise the bar enough to be under the bug cap and leave space for building new feature again and again. So previously we were using the last sprint of the quarter to do bug caps, to working on bugs. Yeah, but if the bugs are not so high, why should we stop? So the quality is good enough, so we don't stop. So it's how you place the bar based on the number of persons that you want and the quality that we have. But it's true, if you have a bug that is classified 1 as a priority, you don't wait. Next sprint is gonna fix it, but it's not part of the bug cap. But yes, there's bugs there that you have more and more and more. So to keep the quality of the code, yes, sometimes you have to address the quantity of bug that you have.
That's cool to see the evolution of that process as well, Steve. That's really neat to see from the like every 4th sprint to, oh, we don't need that. What do we need? Oh, it's the max. We want to make sure we're returning our attention to this when it matters, right? Like, or when it's getting out of hand. So that's neat to see that process developed. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm sorry, Wes. I didn't mean to cut you off there. So yeah, your bug cap is always purely like Pry 2, Pry 3, Pry 4 kind of bugs that end up getting pushed in there because the priority ones are always coming off no matter what.
Yes. So the number one, hey, I cannot wait. There's a customer, there's an issue for that customer. We cannot wait. So next sprint, I'm gonna put it. So let's say every sprint you have 2-3 bugs maybe that you have to fix that may come from the last sprint or what we have to tackle right now. But the rest, most of the time they can wait. There, yes, it's creating noise that's in the monitoring. So put a noise reducer to just really try to avoid to see them until we fix them. So that's why also we put the LSI management process to try to do noise reductions of the monitoring. Because let's say you report something in January, but it's not critical and not severe, but it's generating, say, an error every hours. Just remove it from the logs because you're aware you don't have to report it again. So as soon as fix it, just remove the noise reductions and you're going to see it again if this is fixed. So we're managing the noise and the stuff from others to be aware of what's there. But if this is not important, why invest time on it? The value you're going to generate with that doesn't make any sense to invest any time on it. You prefer to build a feature that generates MRR than try to fix a bug just because you think it's annoying for you. So that's how also we manage the value of working on an healthy state or more building feature.
I just want to show more appreciation because like I'm recognizing as I think through this process, Steve, is I'm seeing how you are taking the way I'm understanding it is you're taking your calculus for prioritization and you're making it possible for your team to step into that, right? And so you are like, this process is an approach to a company building software and it's got your priorities in it. And I like this point, like, hey, I want to go fast. That's why I don't want bugs, right? And like it's clear in your own mind how these things interoperate and how they serve the business value. But I'm reflecting a lot right now on what should the values of my organization be? How do I pass those on to my team? And it's just very cool to see it. What I'm seeing in this example is very clearly how your priorities, you're training your team into the priorities and you're making a larger group of people, you're helping them focus and take up your model. And yeah, it's just it's cool it's very cool to see that written out. Yeah.
Something I can add on that. Yes, the prioritization is better and is working better, but the major difference is the motivation of people, because they love to build new features, so they appreciate that. So when you give them a new feature, they want to finish it, they want to close it. And when you try to take someone and move it to the bugs, he's lazy, don't really want to work, and it's the motivation, it's lower. So after I put that in place, the bug cap and the process and all of that, I saw a 3-4% increase of velocity of the team because of the motivation to work to try to finish something sooner. And when it's bugged, they all work together. So it's some sort of contest between them. I'm going to close more than you. there's 3 bugs closed today. Let's continue, guys, to reduce the bug cap because I want to work on feature after. Please fix as much as possible, as fast as we can. We want to go back on feature. And they know if you don't go enough, so down enough, you're going to have to do another sprint on it, and they don't want it. So they're going to try to push more and push more to try. So the motivation and the culture of the team is improved because of that process also.
Got one last question around just sort of the ownership of the process as well as like the individual bug fixes. You kind of mentioned the Scrum Master and the solution architects being involved there, but who's sort of ultimately responsible for, as these bugs get surfaced, making sure that they get into the process and resolved?
Well, in fact, it's the team. Because when we look at the report, so I'm using a dashboard with a pie chart that split how many bugs I have in every state. And the goal of the team, they want to have everything ready to fix and active or resolve or close. So they want to avoid having the different colors on the charts. So it's everyone's responsibility to invest time on it and try to make sure it's closed. But the process say, you're gonna work on this at least 4 hours. And if you start to do the investigation on something, you have to finish it. Because you start something. So be proud of to do what you do and try to finish what you start. So yes, it's the team that take the ownership to try it because they don't want to work on this. They don't want to see it. So the quality when they generate something, also they try to generate something without bug because they don't want to stop building new feature because they love building new feature. So it's a cycles that everyone appreciate because it's their own responsibility. You create bugs, you're gonna have to fix it. You don't want to create bugs, don't fix it if you don't want to see again.
Sure.
Steve, the other thing that I think you're doing, I think, if I'm understanding correctly, by having the bug cap and reporting that to the leadership team, then you have some constraints on what demands come from the outside, right? So they, if leadership says, oh, we need our products to do X, Y, and Z, you sort of have these bumpers set up where you say, well, yes, and it can't happen until, we get the bug cap down or something like that. Am I understanding that correctly? Like it's like a negotiation tool?
Yeah, so they are aware if we breach the line, the next sprint is going to be blocked because of bugs. So we're tracking those numbers. So so also we calculate how many, say, new feature we do, how many platform improvement, and how many bugs we do. So yes, if let's say we're passing more than 20% of to try to fix bugs, we're going to address to try improve something else. So they're aware of the ratio that we're trying to figure out to the bug cap. So it's not something you would to them say, now we breached the bug cap, we have to stop. Yeah, but my feature, so how many, so the question is more, how many sprints gonna stop? And can you also do my feature? No, you breached the bug cap, okay. So how many sprints you think you're gonna have to stop? Maybe 1.5. So let's say in the next sprint, we should be able to restart to work on that feature. So manage the expectation. So it's more ongoing communication to keep that on track. So they are aware of the situation. So they know what's going to happen so I have to fix bug at some point. And it's not going to be every time. It's going to be at one moment I stop everything. It's more efficient and the total effort allocated to bugs, it's the same. We're just more efficient.